another day at the cemetery. So I've been busy. I've already dropped off. This is way over there. There's a bucket way over there. I dropped off some bases over there. I'm gonna work on that next because I thought this would be in the shade a little bit. That's in the sun. It's late afternoon. So I did this one the other day. Hang on a minute. I had to pause Barry Manilow because I don't want to get a copyright strike if I post this on YouTube. Anyhow, I was going to go through a process that I'm doing here. So originally I was just going to fix this tombstone over here. And then I discovered this one was buried. Just this top here was sticking out of the ground and been beat up by a lawnmower blade. And then I discovered this one. Just the very top of that, you can see where it's stained in that area. It was buried back in there, and I think it had moved. Not sure. I might take my probing stick and check around. Not today probably, but so this one's going to go there. I wasn't planning on doing these three. And then as I was digging that one up, I hit this one, and how could this just disappear? Harmon. I'm not sure on findagrave.com. I don't think there's a record of this headstone out there because it's been buried for so long. It's probably been buried for, I'm guessing, 40 or 50 years probably. It was at least over a foot deep, and I'm just accidentally found it. So I think when I get done, I might just come over here one day with a little probing rod and a shovel and walk around and poke around and see what I can find. But I got plenty to do with stuff I can see right now. But I like to get stuff out of the ground. That was just black. I cleaned that up. It turned out pretty nice. So this one, so that one actually, and so did that one. They were all like just caked with dirt. So I'm got a string here so I can line them up. I kind of guesstimated this one here based on these kind of, they're all staggered different ways, so I'm not sure what is centered and what's not. But I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these four centered, so I got to adjust that out just a little bit. So I'll get the bases. I think I'm going to set all the bases in there, get them all level, and then put dirt and sod around everything. And then I'll come back with the mortar mix last, so that way I can mix up the mortar and mortar, four of them at the same time, rather than do one, mix up the mortar, save it. So I'll do an assembly line. So I'm going to do all four of these here in the next hour or two. And I don't know if I'll have time to do those other ones over there tonight or not. My other dilemma, I got 6 bases, and I can't remember the last base. I can't remember where it's supposed to go. It's something that's 18 inches wide, which is so this one here is like 16, so it'll be something wider than this, and I can't remember where it's at. So I need to walk around, look for a big headstone that looks like it's either tipped over or about to tip over. It's not the one I thought it was. I thought it was one of these over here that was almost tipped over, but it doesn't measure out right. So I'll be able to use it for something somewhere. I just have to pack more mortar in the end. It's 18 inches, so it'd be like an inch on each side. But it'd be nice if I could figure out which one I made it for. So when I get all done, I'm gonna walk around with a tape measure and see if I can figure out what it is. The text on it was so dirty or whatever that I couldn't read it, so I couldn't get a name off of it. So my plan was to clean it and then get a name, then figure it out. Just one of those two there. One's gonna go there, and then that small one is gonna go over here. So I'll give an update in here in a few minutes. All right, I think I got them all straight and all level. I'd like to get that stump out of there, but I could look at those and think they're crooked and everything else. Then I put the level on them, and they're perfectly level. I move it around, make sure. But the ground's all lumpy and everything, so it's hard to tell. But it's level, best I can tell. So what I'm going to do now is put all the dirt and sod around there and tamp it down. And then I'll put the headstones in last. Because I won't put the headstones in now because then it might bump it out of whack and it'd be too hard to move them around once the headstones are in there. So do that next. I dug those holes and got the gravel ready the other day when I was here. So this part will go faster. So, alright, that's the update for now. I'm getting ready to set these in. These are just dry fit. I spray water on the stone and the concrete because I'm getting ready to, I have my mortar mix, which is lime and sand. There's no Portland cement in there because it's a weaker mix. So the weak point of this connection is going to be this joint here. So in the future, if this breaks or does anything, it will break at this joint and then not snap off, hopefully. So in the future, if they need to fix this, they can redo the joint if it comes apart or anything. The problem with embedding it in the concrete is then it will snap off. The marbles be softer than the concrete and it just snaps off. There's quite a few here that are like that. Actually, one is snapped off and there's enough text inscription. The bottom, we're going to lose about that much of the bottom of the stone, but it's okay, there's no inscription. So anyhow, I buttering up the sides here, and then I didn't do a dry fit with this one really because it's heavy and it's going to be a lot of work to get that in there. So I'm 6 months from having major shoulder surgery, rotator cuff, 7 different repairs, so I gotta be careful what I do. So I'll get that up and then I'll walk it over. I'll put a board or that cardboard on the ground here and I'll walk it on the cardboard so the bottom doesn't get all dirty. So that's what I'll do, and then I'll get it in there. But since this one's tall, I'll probably need it propped up. These ones might stay level if I get it packed in there nice and snug. So I take that mortar's basically like wet sand and I'll pack it down in there real tight. I shouldn't move. Alright, so I put these 3 in just now. I had the foundations dug, if you watched videos before then. I put sod that I had piled up under the bush, anticipating that I would need it for here. The ground's pretty on level, so it's not perfect. What I'll do is, when I work on other stones, I'll probably end up with extra dirt, and then I'll bring the dirt over here, buckets of dirt, and then I'll try to level that out, ramp it up so it looks better. So I got these stones all cleaned up pretty nice, and then I look at this one down here and that one needs to be cleaning. I might actually hit that real quick with just water and some brush to get some of that stuff off of it. I'm going to experiment with wet it and forget it. It's a cleaner, it's a lot cheaper than the D2 stuff. The wet it and forget it is approved by the federal government to clean veteran headstones. Veteran headstones are actually owned by the federal government, and they approve wet it and forget it to clean those stones. So I might experiment with that on a couple of stones. So you wet it, then you come back in a week and it just eats away at the stuff, and then come back 2 weeks, it eats away more, and then within let's say 6 months, a year, it's supposed to make it look like brand new. So I'm not quite done with these. I'm going to take a sponge and try to clean up the mortar, the lime around the bottom. That'll wear off eventually, but I'll try to clean it up a little bit. Don't want to get too much of it off because that's what's holding the stones into place. So I was able to pack that down snug enough so I didn't have to prop it up with any boards. it's not windy or it's not supposed to rain or do anything crazy tonight, so it shouldn't blow over or anything. If it does, I'll just set it back up and fix it again. Alright, I'm going to work over here till it gets dark and then head out. And so I do got a problem though, besides my truck being messy. I made this base here, it's 18.5 inches, the slot, and I can't remember what stone it was for. I've already walked around like probably for half an hour looking. I'll be able to use it on something, but I made it specifically 18 inches wide. Almost all of them are exactly 2 inches wide, so I make the openings 2.5 inches. Leave a 1/4 inch around each opening, but make the openings a 1/2 inch bigger than what the stones are. So I will be able to use it for something else. You see that one over there is laying sideways? I thought it was for that one, but it's not the right measurements. But like I said, I'll find a use for it somewhere, but I'll just leave it here leaned up against a tree or something, and then keep trying to figure out where it goes. But eventually I'll be able to use it for something, but I'd like to use it for what I made it for, because it's heavy. That's the heaviest one I got, I think. So alright, that's gonna bother me. This one here is like crooked, so I'm gonna clean that real quick and see if I get it looking a little spiffier. Alright, so beginning of the next project. Next project would be these 2 headstones over here. Lucina, wife of Joseph Wells, died 1818, age 42 years, 22 days. And so I wonder if this headstone was broke off and they redid it, because there's an inscription all the way down to the dirt. This one here was almost totally buried. I dug this up the other day. It was there. And I'm going to probe around when I'm done over here, see if the top of that stone is over there. I wonder if that's Joseph Wells. And it could be, because there's no record of Joseph Wells being buried here. He's the father of the wife of Lucina, and then the father of Augusta, L, and then Joseph, or John Wells, son of, there's a J there, JW, and L Wells, died June 1817, aged 1 year, 11 months, 10 days, I believe. So this one was buried halfway down behind this one, behind his mother. So I'm going to, Augusta came out of this hole here. It was like leaning way over. I'm going to pack that down in there. I'm going to probe around, see if there's anything else in there. And then I'm going to probe around here. If there's nothing here, I'm going to put John here. He could have been over here. So this one was buried there. Could have been over here. But I'm going to put it over here. So I'm doing the very best I can. And the cemetery records are incomplete or non-existent in a lot of cases. It might just say there's people by the name of Wells buried here, but no details. Stay tuned for the next update. I took my probe, poked around here before I put a headstone somewhere, make sure there's nothing underneath of it. So I get digging around, and then I find this right here. But then I also found, so this might be a base for this. I think that's what it is. So I'm gonna dig that up. But see, there's part of something else. There's 2 separate things here. I want to scratch that up. I think it's probably part of a broken stone. So I don't know. I hope that is the bottom of this one. I didn't tell nobody. But this was broke off jagged. And I took this home and I took my angle grinder and I cut that off flat so I could put it on a base. So this might be perfect. So I was going to put that one here anyhow. And I bet you $100 that's the bottom of it. So I'll get that out and then make a determination. So if I'm right, the corner where this is still broke, it should fit in there. So that hasn't been hooked to that for years and years. I've been coming out here for 20, 30 years, and because this is right by the entrance, there's a story about Samuel Wells here on Ripley's, believe it or not. But these have always been an interesting set of headstones to me. So this might be perfect. I might know where John's supposed to be then. So gotta do some digging. I can't film and dig at the same time. I need a tripod so you guys can watch me like for 3 hours straight out here and sweating. Alright. Okay, I decided I'm not going to dig that all the way up because it was embedded in concrete and goes around here. I checked this angle and I checked the picture that I took the other one before I cut the bottom off even. And this is the bottom of this one over here. So I made a new base for that one right here. So I'm not going to dig that up. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and, I'd love to put gravel in here, but I don't think I got enough gravel. I got 3 buckets of gravel. What I could do is go over to the Whiteside County yard there and steal a couple buckets of gravel. I don't think they'd have me arrested. I wouldn't want to make a habit of that. I didn't think, so I really don't want to put dirt back in there. Some type of grub, some type of little thing I'm disturbing. Anyhow, I don't like putting loose dirt. Once I disturb the dirt, I don't like leaving it in there. But then I gotta put this one in here. So I think what I'll do is dig the spot for this one. I think I'll dig the spot for this one, get this one ready because there's less opening. And then I'll work on this one, and that way I can see how much gravel I got left. If I need to go over there and steal some gravel, I might. There's a piece of concrete here I could also lay down in here and just pack gravel around it. I might do that too. So I don't like putting stuff back in there unless I can pack it in there real good. Alright, but yeah, that's the bottom of this one over here. Alrighty, making progress. Okay, it's 7:30 on a Sunday night. It's going to be dark in about an hour and a half. So, I got it. It's about 14 inches from there to there. So I decided to make that 14 inches from there to there. And I did have enough gravel to fill that up. I didn't have to go steal any from the county. So anybody that knows county people, you can. So I did down here. So I went all the way down that headstone, way down there, because I'm going to straighten these other ones out. I'm going to lean them up. They're all leaning toward the east. If you got the westerly wind, they're all leaning east. Maybe they're trying to get to the sunrise. The dead people in the graves trying to lean up and look at the sunrise every morning, shoving the ground up. So I never noticed that before, but it has to be because of the westerly wind. The big ones just lean whatever way they want to lean because no wind's going to stop them. But anyhow, I need to adjust this one here just a little bit. When I point at it, gets out of focus. I got them perfectly level. So this is my secret technique. You can see the little gap there. Same way with this one. Get over here so you can see the darkness. And actually this one can go perfect. I'll come down here again. And I'm trying to make these perfect, and you have all these that are all crooked. So if I look at the string, it's like dead on. Dead. Cemetery dead. And like I said, the mothers is at a kitty wampus. But I'm going to make these ones straight with that one way down there. I'm going to bring these up, lean them up. I might not move them, but once I straighten them up though, I'll dig the dirt out from in front of them. Then there might be bases under there. I could prop the base up and pack gravel down behind there. Another thing, I take this dirt out, I cut it in chunks of sod. So when I put it back in there, I can cut the sod and then pack it back around there. So try to disturb the ground as least amount as possible. I should have some dirt left over. If I do, then I'll take the dirt over to the graves I was working on way over there. You can see them. If you look between the David Matthew there and that other one there, if you look straight way back there, you can see a bush back there. You can see my handiwork from earlier. Alright, I gotta quit talking and get busy because it's gonna be dark pretty soon. Alright, got the sod put back around there somewhat. Before I need to get going because it's getting dark. But anyhow, if I still have daylight, what I'll do is, there's my leftover dirt. I'll take some of that dirt and fill in around the cracks and crevices of the sod. So right now I put gravel in the slot here. I'm tamping it down a little bit. Some people fill that in with concrete, but from what I hear most people say, I don't know if there's an expert at this or not. So I'm putting lime mortar, which will eventually fail, I guess you might say. That's where I want it to fail. And water will seep down in there. If it's filled with concrete, the water won't have nowhere to go. And it will freeze and thaw, freeze and thaw. And then it will crack. So I poured these bases just yesterday. And they're good enough to bring over and put in place. And I still have an extra base. I can't figure out where it goes. I usually write down, I take a picture of the stone, then I send myself a text message with the name of the person and the dimensions on there. And then I text the size, 18.5 inches by 2. And then I remember I couldn't read the name. I said when I clean the stone, I'll be able to read the name. And then I get over here, I can't figure out where it goes. It's not that one. The other half of that one I think is buried. And you see the sun is almost set. Still got a lot of stuff to do here before I leave. Yeah, so I could either walk around, look for that stone somewhere, which I think I'll do. I could dig another hole. The thing is, I might be gone for a few days, so I want to dig a hole, leave a big hole dug. I'll put another 2x4 there. I'll put that stone on there, two 2x4s, and then I'll take my other base, which is right there, and I'll just leave it here on top of the next to this one. If I can't figure out where it goes, I won't have time to fix it up tonight anyhow. I put 5 stones in tonight if I get these 2 done. So did I mention it's getting dark? Yeah, these people got their headlights on already, so I gotta get going. Between a combination of a bunch of my videos, I kind of want to show what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna make the mortar mix for this. There's a little bit left over from the last batch. It's still, I said last batch like half hour ago. So this is 1 part lime and 2.5 parts masonry sand, like really fine sand. And so I mixed it in this bucket. Instead of bringing a bag of sand and a bag of lime mix, I kind of pre-mix it. So that's, let's see, that's big. I'm going to use a couple more scoops. And 1 more half scoop. That's how I put that shovel in there, and then I put the lid on there, and I looked for the shovel for 20 minutes. So then I got this garden sprayer. So this is just water. Ugh. I must already have it pumped up. So I bring this water, I fill this up as 2 gallons, and I fill that up there as 5 gallons. I already dumped some of that water into here to wet my sponge. So it's like having a sink. And then what this actually is my shower for a camper van. So it's a dishwasher hose I attach to it. So what I do when I go camping, I put only about half a gallon of water in there. It's not gonna get ate by bugs. About less than that much water. I put like a pan of boiling water in there, and then I stand out and take a shower. Anyhow, I'll mix that up. So the thing about it is I don't want to put too much water in. I can always add more water, but I don't want to be adding more. So I'll probably need just a little bit more. Just a tiny bit more, because it'll dry up a little bit as I'm... It doesn't take much. I used to add a little bit more water, just very little bit. So that looks good. So I'll just keep mixing this up a little bit. And then what I do, I'll dry fit the stones in there. And then I'll wet the stone and the concrete. When you do mortar mix, you want to keep the surface that you're working on wet. So I'll take my sprayer over. Might as well watch that too, people. Sorry for the bad camera work. So I'll just, so before I even get to this, that concrete will, that'll be dry by the time so I'll wet this probably 2 or 3 times before I get around to putting the mortar in there. And then I'll dry fit that in there, and I'll get the bottom of that. You can see where they had put that in concrete once before. Looks like they tried gluing it too, over here. And like I said, this one here was busted off so jagged. I don't like doing this, but I cut the broken part off so I can get it, fit it down in there. And I measured it so it doesn't cover up the inscription at the bottom. So, is that the best way of doing it? Should I try gluing it together? Or I could have left it buried over there. So everything I'm doing, I'm trying to make it better and not make it worse. The concrete's drying up already, so it's like a sponge. Alright, it's getting dark. It is almost dark out. The sun is pretty much set. I don't know what time it is because I've been trying to hustle. So I wonder if the mowing people will complain because there's some low spots over there and I spread some dirt. You can't really tell, but I spread dirt, leftover dirt from here over there. And when it rains and when they mow, that'll be gone. And yeah, I made this base for the headstone. I certainly didn't make it for that one, although it looks like it would fit. But I don't know where the top is of that one. This goes somewhere. Anyhow, summary. Lucina Wells, wife of Joseph, and her 2 children who both died when they were young. So I got those bases in, I got the sod around there, got them nice and level. Looks like my light came on. And I could have did a better job with the mortar here, but I'm getting ate by bugs. And this one wasn't concrete, so you can see a little bit of concrete up there. I didn't notice that, otherwise I would have chiseled that off. I could have also took that home and ground off about 4 inches of it above that concrete, so it wasn't sticking up so high, so it might not break off as easy. But this is a fresh break here. I think this year. This was leaning way over about a 45-degree angle, and I think I got banged into. There's another little tombstone over here somewhere that is freshly snapped off. And so typically what I would do, I'd go find my next 4 projects and measure them. Got those 3 done. And then take a little tour. Stick with me. I'd like to figure out where all these go to. I think that's the top of that one, and I don't know about these two. So I contacted the guy who's got the cemetery records, and I'm gonna see if there's any way to tell approximately where people are supposed to be buried, because there's tombstones like leaning up, like there's tombstones leaning up against that one over there. So there's Sarah Green, John Green Sr., John Green Jr., Garrison. So there's there's definitely about 500 people buried here, but there might be like around 700 because of the Poor Farm. I don't know if the Poor Farm Cemetery is actually considered part of the Round Grove Cemetery. There's my great-great-grandfather. Here's my other great-great-grandfather, Henry Ward. Came from Canada. His boys, Peter, Robert. And then, so these are I did one of these a couple days ago. And then I did these 3 just earlier tonight. So I put five headstones up tonight. Looks pretty good. So the Hawes family, Hawes, Suzanne and Samuel, they can rest better knowing that their headstones are fixed. And another Haws, but they spelled this one different, Haws. And so I think they made a mistake in the spelling, because this is Hawes, and I think that's the correct spelling. And then there's Sanfords, so they are, I believe, connected through marriage. Sanfords and Haws, if I'm saying that. So I did brush that with some water. I'm gonna get this stuff called Wet It and Forget It, and it's about a fraction of the price of the D2. And suppose you just come up with something like that and spray it on and just leave it, and it starts eating away at the stuff. So those 4, the other 2 I put in, so that's 6. And then the Suzanne and Green, so that's 7 headstones and 2 trips over here. And I would have got a 8th one if I remember where in the heck it was. I can't remember where it was at. I thought I knew. Hang on for a minute. Hope you stuck with me. So this one here has been hit by a lawnmower several times. It just irritates me. I'm going to dig that up and get it out of the ground and see what's there. What I thought it was this one that I had measured out, but it's not, because that's not the right size. This was laying down and I propped it up, and so this one's a little bit loose. And then this one here is buried. So there's just so many I could work on. I want to dig around here and see what all we got going on here before I mess with this one. It's got some fractures in it, but if I clean it, I can see where the inscriptions are. If the inscriptions don't go like way down, I might be able to. So anyhow, those are the ones I worked on so far. So even though I've only been over here twice already, there's a noticeable difference. Something's been digging around here. I had that all cleaned off real nice, and then something's been digging holes. There's pine cones here, so squirrels or something been digging around there. So yeah, just 2 days you make a noticeable difference. And then one day I'm gonna come over here just with several buckets of gravel, and I think I'll just work on one roll at a time. And so like you got these going down here, and then all these going down here. And I think what I'll do is just, I could probably do all those in a few hours. Dig around there, level them up, pack gravel underneath there, get them all nice and straight and plumb, and go all the way down there. Like I said, I'm gonna get that Wet It and Forget It. What I'll do, I'll straighten all these out and then come back through and then spray it with the Wet It and Forget It. And then in a few weeks I'll come back and see if it was worthwhile. This is like half buried. I have to dig this one out, see what's going on. That one there is buried. It's not that big of a deal to get those out. I just dig around there and got my metal pry bar and pry it up and put some boards under there, and then just keep poking gravel underneath of it till it brings it up in level. Yeah. Alright. yeah, it just bothers me that don't know what I made that base for. Like I said, I'll be able to use it for, so even if it doesn't fit properly, I can still pack mortar on the ends of it. But I made it specifically for something. There's another headstone leaning up against that one over there. So I gotta go. It's dark, bugs getting me, and I got the hiccups.